Chapter 558 process for the QCA began with the work by the Quarry Transition Committee, or QTC, and inspections performed by third-party contractors. In May of 2015, the initial Chapter 558 notice was sent to the Pulte Group, so that's 2 years ago. Pulte did not respond to that notice. In April of 2016, First Service Residential, FSR, was selected and hired as the property management company for the Quarry Community Association. The board, on behalf of the QCA, retained legal counsel, Ball Janik, LLP, which we've informed you about previously, and they were selected to take the lead on the Chapter 558 process. Ball Janik then engaged a consultant to investigate the claims. On February 3rd of 2017, the association issued a formal Florida Statute 558 notice to Pulte Group, which identified alleged construction or design deficiencies. After many months of unproductive discussions, the QCA Board of Directors concluded it was necessary to take more formal action against Pulte Group. A copy of the notice, if you'd like to see it, may be obtained through First Service Residential through Adam's office. In response to the notice, Pulte Group has hired experienced defense attorneys and made demands upon the subcontractors that worked on the defective conditions. Pulte Group has also requested an inspection where all interested parties will be on site to discuss the defective conditions and attempt to negotiate a resolution. In that spirit, the communications and negotiations between the association and Pulte are ongoing. To ensure that Pulte Group stays engaged in productive negotiations, the QCA Board of Directors have instructed Ball Janik to file a circuit court lawsuit by the end of this week, Friday, May 12th. If Pulte Group does not fulfill its obligations to the association by repairing or paying money to correct the defective conditions, the association will be in a position to successfully pursue the claim in court. In the meantime, Ball Janik is coordinating the site inspection, which will be led by the association's engineering and legal team. The inspection will include Pulte Group, the subcontractors, and most likely their engineering and legal teams. After the inspection, which is expected to occur before the end of June, the association hopes to complete productive settlement negotiations. As you have likely concluded, this process can be lengthy and time-consuming for all parties involved. The QCA Board of Directors, upon the advice of our attorney, firmly believes this action will provide for the best resolution and outcome for the Quarry Community Association, Inc. I thank you on behalf of the board for your continued patience as we go through this process. And I also want to let you know that because of the significance of this announcement, we will, and the fact that, you know, we're kind of in the off season here and there's not a whole lot of homeowners here tonight, while this is being videotaped, we are going to send a communication in this regard out to homeowners tomorrow, all Quarry homeowners tomorrow. Thank you.
The next order of business is the topic of transponder purging. I'll turn that over to our Access Committee Chair, Rich.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, my name is Rich Wyrick. I'm chairman of the Access Committee, and we've got 8 good people on the committee and about 240 years worth of experience in law enforcement, anything from community, state, local law enforcement, to Pentagon security, hospital security and administration, business administration, FBI. There's quite a wide variety of experiences and perceptions, and taking a look at what we've got and how we're dealing with it. The members of the committee are Lee Daniels, Ralph Frank, Jim Kress, Dave Lee, Kevin Mooney, Bob Nogler, Norm Vernon, and Tom Schobecker, special advisor as necessary. Our liaison from the board is Joe Goudreau, and we try and keep him apprised of what it is we're looking at and what it is we're thinking, and he gives us guidance on where we might want to go with our observations. As we looked at what our duty as the Access Committee is, we've got a number of valuable resources. And those resources include just looking out, you can see them. Beautiful lake, all the roads that surround our community, the marina, pools, pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the roadways that you can bicycle on, jog on, etc., walk our pets. All these things we value. And like anything else of value, we take a look at, well, how can we work to ensure that it's used by ourselves and our opportunity to utilize those resources is not diminished by those who are taking up lounge chairs that maybe don't live here. And you think, well, my goodness, they have to use a key card, something like this, in order to get into the pool. Well, sometimes that's true and sometimes that's not. And some of you may have found, as I have, rocks in the latching receptacle, which I don't know how they get there, but they seem to find their way. And there's also some other ways that people get into the community. You have a sticker like this. This is a little bigger than your sticker, but in the upper right-hand portion of your windshield, you have that. If you have guests, they're afforded this. They come to the gatehouse, and if you have the guests on your guest list, they're given one of these, and then they can get in and out. They present a driver's license to obtain one of these. For liability purposes, we are asked to get their driver's license to see they are indeed a valid licensed driver. And to keep your license, you have to be insured, so that helps protect us from a liability perspective. Something new that was just added, speed limit, 25 miles an hour. That's posted down here at the bottom. It's also posted that we're asking people to keep this placard on the dashboard while they're here in the community. So those are some of the things that we're trying to utilize to protect our resources here. What we've discovered is, during the course of the last 10 years, is that some of these resources have found their way through attrition. To one resident moves out, they give legacy copies of any of those to their friends, their neighbors, to people in adjoining communities, and things of that nature. And of course, what that does is that diminishes the opportunity for us to enjoy those lounge chairs, pools, and other resources. So what we decided to do is there's a number of things that we want to work on with Access Committee, but we figured let's get the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, the easiest problems to solve first. And one way to do that would be to take the first glance at what are the resources that we know can be protected. There's a copy of our passes. And we talked about over time, builders, contractors, construction workers, service providers have moved on, and unfortunately our record-keeping abilities through time and personnel changes have been unable to keep pace, despite our best efforts in that regard. Not all passes are being returned, and we can better utilize our security gate representatives as well as our roving ambassadors if we can get a roster of who's supposed to be here, give them a notebook, and they can welcome people as they come into the pool and ask their address and look it up in the notebook and see if in fact they're supposed to be here. The committee recommends to the board of directors that access lists be cleared as soon as practicable of those without current legitimate authorization or needs for access. Further, it is recommended that owners be required to renew their existing credentials in order that community records can be updated. Seven steps, pretty straightforward, pretty easy steps. It's recommended that the homeowner association staff, under the guidance of the community manager, be tasked with deactivating any and all readily apparent names of individuals and companies that possess transponders and recreation passes that no longer have legitimate need for them. The committee understands this process has already begun and is being implemented in an ongoing basis. Number two, it's recommended that the homeowner association staff, under the guidance of the community manager, be tasked with deactivating any and all readily apparent names of individuals and companies that possess transponders that have no longer legitimate need for them. Number three, the board of directors may wish to adopt a community access and credentialing policy. The committee has prepared a draft for the board's review in that regard. Anytime you work with stuff, people are going to have questions and say, well, where does it say that I can do this or I can do that? Well, if the policy is relatively well constructed, there will be something to refer to as far as how we administer these, how they're distributed, the fees that are charged for them, etc. The community manager may wish to review a draft copy of the Quarry Access Credential Renewal Form prepared by the committee. It will be used as an attachment in communicating to owners the need to renew the access passes, forms, and the capture system, which is the access system that keeps track of all this stuff. The community manager will need to prepare and disseminate communication to all owners in a variety of methods, emails, newsletters, etc., indicating the dates for the start of the renewal period, as well as the deadlines for the same. It's recommended that the start date could be as soon as, and this is up entirely to the board, could be as soon as June 1st of this year. This would allow a period for both year-round residents as well as those who are waiting for the season, if they desire, to renew their credentials prior to returning later in the year. This strategic staging would allow the homeowner association staff to process this information on a more even pace instead of getting an avalanche all in one particular month and then proceeding from there. It's recommended that upon return of the residents who have left for the season in April, upon their return in October, that they are reminded, along with others, that the period for renewal is still open and they have until December 1st, 2017 to complete the process. Passes not renewed would not be deactivated by the HOA staff until, for example, December the 15th, 2017. All of these dates are just recommendations. It's entirely up to the board if they want to implement this at all or if they want to change the dates at their sole discretion. It's HOA administered. It's not viewed that we're going to be asking people to go to the front gatehouse and while the staff there are trying to work a line of maybe 10 cars in the morning at 9 o'clock, getting service representatives into the quarry, that they're being asked by folks coming in the other door, hey, I've got some guests I want to add to my list and so forth. All that work is being done now by the HOA office staff, and I think we'll find that that's done much more efficiently, much more accurately, and it's going to work out a whole lot better for us. Once again, if folks come in with issues, the Securitas staff is advising them to contact the HOA office during standard business hours. And I guess we'll hold all questions until the end. So that's our thought on access. We want to renew them so we can get all the information up to date, get all the non-current people off the list of having access to our computer. Thanks for your attention.
Adam, could we go ahead and make a motion as the board to start this process as of effective June 1st?
We can, if the board has reviewed and discussed and they're ready to move forward with the dates of the presentation. Sure.
I make a motion that we go forward with June 1st.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Any discussion first?
Discussion.
Does this involve the access passes, but also the recreational passes as well?
Yes. Both. You know, the problem is we have so much misinformation on the recreational cards that gets into the pool and to the gym. If you lose your card, we don't know who owns it. So we have to redo this whole system so that we have the numbers, so if you do lose it, we know who to respond to. And we have so many people with transponders that don't even live here anymore. So with what Rich was saying is we're going to have this form that you can fill out that has your numbers that you can tell us. We're going to put it in a database, and then we'll be able to know who's got what. And then we're building a new a form that will allow when you move, then you're cut off. So the new people will come in. So we'll have a clue who's coming in and not coming in. So we're just trying to lock this thing down a little bit. And so we're going to do all the cards. And you'll have up to December 15th. So if you live here full time, if you could start this process first before the people come back, that would just help out everybody.
And we do this through the HOA office?
Yeah, you'll get a form sent out through your emails, and just bring that up and drop it off, and it'll go from there with your cards and your numbers.
Okay.
And we're going to make it so you know where the numbers are, so there won't be too much of an issue.
So just to further that, Rich and his team have done a good job of just getting the groundwork for a good packet to e-blast out. It's got really good diagrams of showing everybody where to look for your numbers to get them on your paperwork to turn it back from the office. I don't know if you guys have your final draft done or not, but it's a really good starting point, and if that's ready to go, then that's what we'll roll with June 1st.
All in favor?
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, so we're just going to get to the open discussion part now. I'm sure there's a bunch of questions. Sir?
Why does the quarry have to be different on the access? Why don't they go to a dual beam system that many of the other communities have? Why do we have this transponder that I've never seen before?
I can't answer why we have the transponder. I mean, I'm assuming it's something that Pulte put in from the very beginning. Why we don't upgrade to a different or newer system, I don't think that's ever been discussed or kicked around. I'm not sure
Really have.
if the funds are even there for it. If it is something we want to do, it's probably something we'd have to budget for in a future budget and roll out the cost for it.
Just a quick suggestion, if you have a question or comment, please say your name, that way it'll show up on the video. Thanks.
Rich, you had it.
Yeah. My name is Rich Wyrick, live in Fieldstone. The system that was mentioned was one technology. This is another technology. It's run by TransCore. TransCore, I retired from the Department of Transportation, and it's used on intelligent transportation systems throughout the country. It's well recognized as a state-of-the-art technique for capturing passes in motion, and it does so accurately. And in past lanes where entire states have adopted it for their, I can't think of the name of the system that was used in Florida, but SunPass. Okay, it's that kind of tolling system that uses that technology. So it's not somebody's second-rate technology. It's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
Kevin Mooney, Nautical Landing Circle. Two things. The first one being on the balance sheet highlights. It said line of credit was going to be pursued. I think overwhelmingly at the last meeting we had, the audience was against a line of credit being pursued. I could be wrong, but I think I was right. People are worried that if there's a $50,000 line of credit, we're going to quickly be up to $50,000 in credit. And that's not what they wanted to see.
Yeah, want me to answer that a little bit? I can answer what the discussion was, and there was quite a few comments about why do we need a line of credit, what's the reason for it, what's the expense of it, and so on. Any seasonal business that's operating cash flow seasonally like we do needs a line of credit. The line of credit is only there for temporary, part-time, short-term use. It's very specific on when it has to be, when you can borrow against it, when it has to be repaid, and the cost of having it is minimal. But where we get funds in, Adam can address it better than I can when our funds come in, but they don't come in, as our expenses show up. So the line of credit would basically be, for example, a $500,000 line of credit. You might draw $200,000 on it this month, you might pay that $200,000 back next month. But there's specific requirements with any line of credit that it has to be zeroed out at specific times. So we're not going to be drawing on this for any long-term expenses. We're not going to be, putting new pool chairs in or doing anything like that. It's strictly to meet cash flow needs, and it's strictly for just the benefit of managing our cash, short term.
Second thing, in December, we talked about getting rid of this fish tank, which is costing us $6,000 a year to maintain, yet it still sits here. I talked to Adam about it, and Adam says, well, it's not as easy as you would think because of the plumbing and the electricity. It's got to be cheaper to hire a plumber and an electrician to get this thing taken out, even if we donate it somewhere. And he said, the rug, let's put a table over the rug spot then, if that's what we have to do. But it should go.
That's completely up to the board. I don't know if they're ready to make a call on that at this point right now, so.
How much does it cost to get it?
We'd have to get quotes to get it removed, we'd have to get quotes to get the plumbing line shored up, the electrical pulled. We'd have to get quotes for new carpet in here.
Didn't we get a quote for the replacement of the carpet anytime soon? Didn't we?
I never have none.
Somewhere along the line, there was something I read that we're going to replace the carpet, and that was going to go at that point in time.
That was mentioned at that December meeting, yes. That's what was talked
Well, we
about.
can pursue that, because the carpet is bad, and then we were going to do it all at one shot. So that's the last I remember.
Okay, I've got to agree with Kevin on the issue with the finances. We don't need a $500,000 line of credit. And nobody at that other meeting wanted to see something like that.
I just used that as an example. I'm not sure.
That's what Jackie was talking about, $500,000. And I understand what you're saying, and I've seen lines of credit that have certain dates, okay? But I've also seen them that don't, and they're based on against something, against property, against receivables, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't had, to my knowledge, and I've been here for quite a while, a major cash flow problem in the summertime. I'd rather we don't do it, and as I say, I think Kevin said, it was discussed, and there was an awful lot of people who were not in favor of it. So I just wanted to raise that.
Rich?
I would just observe that when budgets are tight, most families, when budgets are tight, they look at what they might cut in the way of unneeded expenses. And I had to laugh when I heard Kevin wrote you a note regarding the fish tank, because unbeknownst to me, about the same time, I think I wrote you a note about the fish tank when we were talking about budget limitations, and I thought it was something that could possibly go. I too didn't realize that it's a little more complicated than I thought, but yet still, $6,000 of unneeded, sometimes unappreciated expenses. We need to look at trimming the sails. That's just my thought.
Sure.
Sherry, it's Nino, Forest Circle. Just a couple. You're talking about these passes, updating the transponders or whatever. These passes, everyone can just walk in and go right into the pool because that gate between the Q bar is always propped open. So I mean,
Well, we stopped cropping it over probably about a month and a half.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, that's good. And then that's a major. Secondly, you notice the guy driving around security, do we really need that during the day? I mean, what's the function?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're gonna be some, me and Rich were talking, and Kevin, we're gonna make some major changes to that. Right now, he's just idling. We have a whole new staff of people here. So things are gonna change dramatically in that area. You know, we do have this problem with Heritage Bay. You know, nobody wants to put a $50,000 gate over there. So we were all talking, you know, maybe he can periodically be over here at the gate, and if you don't have a pass, wait, why are you here? So we've got a lot of movement with him coming in the future, but we're just trying to get a game or a team together first. But we're going to see some changes in that area that Rich and his team are going to, we're all going to get together and fix that.
Good observation.
Tom, Jay Cohen, Phil Lane. Jerry, I think you did a great job on the budget. I mean, that was a lot of information put together. I don't think everybody realizes what difficult the information is to go through. So I think we've got a real clear picture of it. But getting back to the letter of credit, let's just say we finish out the year 250,000 deficit. Where does that come from? How do you pay off your line of credit? Is that something that we have cash on hand that we extinguish, or does that have to be recaptured through next year higher assessments?
Yeah, I think you captured it. If we finish with a deficit like that, the amount of cash on hand wouldn't be sufficient. So that would go into the calculation of what kind of assessments need to be put in place for next year. So it is important to understand that. It's also, as we talked about, a seasonal business. For instance, if the mulch, what month does the mulch go down? Right, January, or? I mean, that is funded right away. It's one of the biggest expenses. And, you know, the timing in a seasonal business, the cash coming in and the cash coming out, it doesn't happen in a smooth ebb and flow. And that's why the need for a line of credit. It's a responsible thing to do for a seasonal business, but it's not responsible to count on that to balance the books. It's up to the HOA to make sure that the assessments and the spending are in balance going forward. And we're coming off a big loss last year, which was $400,000 that had to be funded. And it looks like there'll be a loss this year that has to be funded. And the cash reserves, we don't believe are sufficient. But that's why it is an action item to see month by month now, what are the cash requirements, so we have a better understanding.
I think we understand the seasonality.
Yeah.
I mean, that, you know, it's pretty easy to see. But from the information that you have, to the extent that you're going to have a $250,000 deficit at the end of the year, I think we have some difficulties now, which is going to need some cash through that period. It could bounce around, but where are you going? You're going against that line of credit. So it sounds like this line of credit is going to be used throughout the year, and it could be fully drawn at year end.
It may or may not, because to the positive side, all of that mulch, which was something like, what, 270, 280,000, was paid in full. So from a cash flow basis, we're better off than those numbers would lead you to believe.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Bill Flister, 8806 Fincom. With regard to the line of credit, I don't think we should just say no to it. I think you need to take a look at a monthly cash flow. And once you get the monthly cash flow, you'll know where you'll be, especially since our balance right now is a little thin. When we're sitting with a lot of cash reserves, that's a different story. You really don't need the line of credit at that stage of the game. But the mulch is a good point, because in December, people were looking to have the mulch put down. It was held off until January, because it was in the budget for January. But if we wanted to do it in December, we didn't have the means or the finances to do that. So, and a line of credit also requires an annual cleanup, and it also could be a cleanup that could be 60 days or 90 days. We could build that into however you want to structure that facility. So that eliminates the fact that it's not going to be sitting out there long-term, and it's not going to be another 500,000 that's just sitting there. So how it's put together, how it's going to be utilized, I think we should really take a good hard look at it and rely on the finance committee to come back with a cash flow. And if it shows that we need it, then we'll sit down and discuss it.
Tom Johnson, I'm sorry, Calvin, you're over.
Thanks. Tom Johnston on South Shores. I wanted to get a sense from the board about whether we feel that the beach club will ever break even, or is it a lost leader for us as a community? I think many of us in the community feel it should break even at least. So I want to get a sense from all the board what you think is realistic and when we might achieve it, if you believe it's going to break even.
I don't think it ever breaks even. I don't know if a restaurant in a community will even come even. Talking with the finance committee, the analysis that I received, if we can do about $100,000 or $200,000 loss, we're doing really well. So, we haven't even made a full year out of this. So you have a very good question, but I guess it's kind of hard to answer until we make that full cycle of the 12 months to do that. But to be honest with you, I don't think we'll ever make it be even. I mean, I don't think it's the nature of the beast.
Tom, I presented to the board about a month and a half ago, and I think the Finance Committee has it too, two reports that are done locally. The Gladver report and the Beekman report. I think I've mentioned them in the past. And what they do is they survey all the clubs around the area in 2 counties to try to get a snapshot of where they're running and what the averages are for cost of goods sold, percentage of labor to revenue, a whole bunch of good information. There are no clubs down here that break even. They all need to be supplemented by the membership in one form or another. Food runs at about 50, beverage runs at about 44, labor runs about 65%. You add all those things together, that far exceeds 100%, obviously. And then there's other ancillary costs involved with that as well, too. So in those reports and information I've provided, they don't list clubs by name, obviously, because it's an anonymous report, but it's really good information, and it's going to help us moving forward as far as building the budget appropriately for the quarry and the beach.
All right, I would just add to that, though. We have been funding it for years. We do so through our assessment, so I get that. But now we've entered a point where we thought the TPR would generate substantial sales and perhaps help to flatten that out. And I guess we're not seeing that, and the expectation, according to Joe, is that we will never see that.
Well, we fund it based on percentages that are not common with the marketplace. We have a 50% cost of goods sold for food. We have a 33% cost of goods sold for beverage. That's not industry standard. Industry standard is much higher than that. We have a payroll number of about 50%. Payroll is 65%. Those numbers I mentioned before, we budgeted aggressively, but not to